There is an invisible contract you signed the moment you entered this dynamic, even without knowing it. It wasn't written in ink, nor registered with a notary, but it was sealed with every sorry you offered when you weren't at fault, with every excessive compliment you gave to prevent an outburst, and with every moment you dimmed your light, so the other person wouldn't feel overshadowed. That contract says this: I exist to reflect the grandiosity you believe you possess. I am the guardian of your fragile self-esteem. For years, or maybe decades, you fulfilled that role. You became an expert at reading the room. You know exactly the tone of voice that precedes a storm. You know that if you don't applaud their minimal accomplishments, the punishing silence will come. You live in a state of hypervigilance, incessantly seeking the approval of someone who will never fully approve of you, because their dissatisfaction is the tool that keeps them in control. But what happens if, one day, exhausted and seeking clarity, you tear up that contract? I'm not talking about yelling, fighting, or accusing. I'm talking about something far more terrifying to a narcissistic person: the withdrawal of your energy. What happens when you stop seeking their yes? What happens when their criticism doesn't make you cry, and their praise doesn't make you sigh with relief? Most victims believe that by ceasing to seek approval, they will find peace, or that perhaps the narcissist will finally wake up and realize their value. But the psychological reality is much more complex and turbulent. When you stop feeding the machine, it doesn't quietly shut down. It short-circuits. Today, you will understand why their behavior will drastically worsen before, perhaps, stabilizing, and why this is the definitive proof that you are never dealing with an emotionally healthy adult, but with a pathological survival system that depends on you to function. My name is Lauren Mitchell. My purpose with this channel is to show you that the problem was never you, and more importantly, that you are not alone. Let's visualize the scenario. Until yesterday, the dynamic was predictable. They would make an acidic comment about your clothes, your job, or how you never do anything right. Your programmed reaction was defense or supplication. You would explain, justify, cry, or try to overcompensate by being even more helpful. This emotional reaction, whether positive or negative, is what we call narcissistic supply. It is proof that they have impact, that they are the center of your emotional universe. But today, something has changed inside you. Perhaps you read something, watched a video, or sheer exhaustion simply overcame fear. They deliver their usual criticism, and you don't react. You don't seek their look of approval to know if everything is okay. You respond with an "I understand your opinion," or you simply continue what you were doing. You stop asking, "What did you think? What did you..." or "Did you like it?" You stop recounting the details of your day expecting validation, only to be interrupted. The atmosphere in the room instantly changes. It's a palpable density. To an outsider, nothing happened. But you, who know the beast, feel the electrical tension in the air. What you are experiencing at this moment is their cognitive dissonance being projected onto the environment. They cast the hook, but there was no bite. Their first reaction is not explosive anger. It is confusion, a deep, disorienting confusion. It's as if they flipped the light switch and the bulb didn't turn on. You begin to notice side glances. They start testing the waters. Perhaps they increase the volume of the criticism, or paradoxically, give a sudden misplaced compliment. They are calibrating. Is the remote control broken? They unconsciously wonder. For you, this moment is terrifying. Your body is conditioned to expect punishment. Your heart races. Your hands sweat. Guilt, that old companion implanted by them, begins to whisper, "Am I being cold? Am I the narcissist now?" They look sad. It is crucial that you understand. This guilt is not your intuition speaking. It is conditioning. You were trained like a Pavlov's dog to salivate for approval and to fear indifference. By breaking the pattern, you are fighting against your own biological survival programming within this abusive relationship. But while you deal with the internal guilt, inside their mind, a catastrophe is brewing. To understand what happens next, we need to descend into the basement of the narcissistic psyche. Pillar number 1 of this analysis is what we call the mirror break. Imagine you don't have skin, that your internal organs are exposed to the air, burning and aching all the time. To avoid feeling this pain, you need an artificial second skin. For the narcissist, external approval, admiration, fear, or the victim's submission are this second skin. It is what keeps their structure cohesive. The narcissist does not possess a true, solid self. What exists is a false self, a grandiose and fragile construct that needs to be constantly inflated. They don't seek your approval because they love you and want to connect. They seek your approval to regulate their own self-esteem. They have outsourced their emotional regulation to you. When you stop seeking their approval, when you stop looking at them as if they were the sun, you effectively break the mirror. The moment you withdraw validation, they suffer a narcissistic injury. It's not just being upset. It is a profound sense of annihilation. Without your gaze of adoration or fear reflecting their grandiosity, they are forced to look inward. And what is inside? Shame, an unbearable void, the feeling of being inadequate, small, and worthless. That is why the reaction is so disproportionate. You think you just stopped praising their dinner, but to their psyche you are sucking the oxygen out of the room. They interpret your lack of approval seeking as a direct attack. In the narcissist's distorted mind, your autonomy is an offense. How dare she not need me to know if she's good enough? If she doesn't need my approval, then I have no power over her. And if I have no power, I do not exist. This is where you notice the shift. They stop being the haughty judge who evaluates you and become the offended victim. They may start to sulk, sigh loudly in corners, or feign sickness. The goal is just one, to make you feel guilty for having stopped serving them. They need you to hold up the mirror again. And if the victimization doesn't work, they will pull out the most dangerous tool in the arsenal. You held your position. You didn't give in to the victimization. You continued living your life without seeking emotional permission. Now, we enter the second pillar, the most important concept you need to learn. Today, the extinction burst. In behavioral psychology, when a behavior that has always been rewarded stops receiving the reward, it doesn't disappear immediately. It drastically increases in intensity before it ends. Think of a child throwing a tantrum at the grocery store because they want candy. If the mother says no and ignores them, the child doesn't stop and say, "Okay, mommy." The child screams louder. They throw themselves on the floor. They kick. They escalate the behavior to unbearable levels to force the mother to give in and give them the candy, the reward, just to end the scene. The narcissist is that emotional child, and your approval, or your emotional reaction, is the candy. When you stop seeking approval, prepare for the storm. The narcissist will try everything to elicit a reaction from you. The predictability is gone, so they will lash out everywhere. The love bomb, hoovering. Suddenly, they may become the sweetest person in the world. They will compliment you on the thing you stopped asking about. "Wow, you look beautiful today." They will bring gifts. They will try to reactivate your hope that now they've changed. The goal here is to make you lower your guard and go back to seeking their validation. If you smile and accept, the cycle restarts and the abuse returns in days. The provocation of rage. If affection doesn't work, they will turn to cruelty. They will touch on your deepest wounds. They will criticize things they previously ignored. They will triangulate with others. "So-and-so at my job thinks I'm amazing, only you don't see it." They prefer that you scream with hatred than remain indifferent. Hatred is still a form of validation. Indifference is death to them. The smear campaign. If they cannot control your view of yourself, they will try to control how others see you. They will start painting you as the crazy one, the cold one, the ungrateful one, to friends and family. This is a desperate attempt to surround you and force you back into the safety of their approval. The extinction burst is the moment where most victims give in. The pressure is unbearable. It feels like the world is collapsing. But in reality, this chaos is the sign that their tactic is failing. Their hysteria is proof that you have regained control of your mind. If you survive the extinction burst without giving in, maintaining your gray rock technique, not reacting emotionally, not seeking their approval to validate your existence, you will reach the third pillar, the revelation of the void. The narcissist realizes the source has dried up. The appliance, you, is no longer functioning as it should. They press the button and the Ibarite toaster doesn't toast. They kick the toaster, and it doesn't react. At this point, the mask falls completely. You will see something unsettling, the blank stare. That shine of charm disappears, the calculated anger dissipates, and what remains is a robotic coldness or absolute contempt. They stop trying to impress you. They stop trying to control you through subtle manipulation. They simply lose interest. Why? Because for the narcissist, people are objects. If the object does not serve its function, to provide supply approval. The object is useless. Here, two things happen. Next, the cold. Discard. They may abruptly end the relationship or start treating you as if you were furniture. They will obsessively focus on a new source of supply, a new victim, a new hobby, an addiction that gives them the easy adoration you stopped providing, the absolute devaluation. They will change the internal narrative. To protect the ego from the implicit rejection in your indifference, they need to convince themselves that you were never valuable. She didn't stop admiring me because I'm flawed. She stopped because she is dumb, weak, crazy. This stage is painful for the victim, because it seems like all the love that existed before has evaporated. And the brutal truth the decoder needs to tell you is that love was never solid. It was a transaction. You will see their naked, raw childishness. Without the makeup of charm, without the smoke of manipulation, all that remains is a spoiled, vengeful child who broke the toy because the toy didn't want to play their way. By stopping the search for approval, you force the narcissist to face their own irrelevance in your life. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that frightens them more than irrelevance. You spent years asking, am I good enough for him? By stopping the search for that answer, you discover the truth. He was never qualified to judge you. When this happens, the confusion, the burst of rage, the love bomb, and the cold discard, don't see it as your failure. See it as data. See it as scientific confirmation of their pathology. A healthy person, faced with your autonomy, would be happy. A healthy person would say, I'm glad you're self-assured. The narcissist collapses. Freedom begins when you realize that their approval was not a prize. It was a handcuff. By letting go of the need for that yes, you see, the extinction burst, not as a monster attacking you, but as the last gasp of a control that has already died. Let them throw a fit. Let them try to triangulate. Let them be silent. The validation you sought so desperately externally is now growing silently inside you, and that is the only approval. That, in the end, will save you. In the description of this video, you will find a link to the only material you need to understand and reframe what you have experienced. Feel free to use the comments below to leave your story, your vent, or even a suggestion for a topic for the next video. Click on the suggested video on the screen and continue with me. Remember, you are light. Never forget to shine.